What's up guys, my name is Ryan45678 and welcome back to the Edge Your Bike project. If you haven't seen the rest of my Edge Your Bike project videos, I'll put some cards up above and you'll be able to find the playlist on my channel for this whole project. So before we get started, don't forget to leave a like on the video if you end up enjoying it, subscribe if you like these kind of projects and you want to see more of this one and others in the future. And as always, if you want to support the channel, there are affiliate links in the description below. Last time I got some of these pieces cut out and notched. In the meantime, I finished doing that. I actually burned out all my cutting discs, so I ended up using grinding discs instead. But I got it. Got everything notched. I used a flap disc sander to smooth it out. And the last thing, which I didn't expect to take as long as it did, was getting the black mill scale off of these pipes, which supposedly you could use Jasco paint and epoxy remover and wipe it off. Well, it's not that easy. Some of these I was able to get pretty good after coating them, wiping them with paper towels a few times. What ended up working the best was actually steel wool. If you get a little bit of Jasco on there and then use steel wool, kind of, I don't have a free hand so I can't show you, but basically do that to the pipe. And what I ended up doing, as you can see some of these still have it on there, I just mainly, these that I was able to get mostly off, but for the most part what I did was I just got the parts that I know I'm gonna have to weld. So that's the main thing right now, is I wanted to get these to where I could weld them, because as you might could tell, my first weld I didn't do that with these practice pipes and kind of screwed up, got all janky. It also didn't help that I was using Harbor Freight wire. But today what we're going to be doing is tacking this frame together, and hopefully if I have time, welding everything that I've got so far completely. Now I don't have all the pieces yet. I left a few of them, specifically these are the rear supports. I left the front ones because the measurements would have been ambiguous the way they're drawn in my CAD program, and exactly how I was going to have to go about notching them. So I'm going to save those for last and do them visually so that the frame is level and I don't cut something an inch short and waste 5 feet of material or whatever. So yeah, let me show you the wire I got really quick, and then I'll lay everything out, show you that, and then tack some things together, and I'll show you my progress as we go along. So as you can see, I've got my new wire in there, the I and E. I'll put a link to that in the description if you're interested. I think there's supposed to be certain amounts of tightness for this thing, the knob for the wire, and as well as this thing for the wire feeder, but I'm not entirely sure. I just got this as fairly tight without being overly tight. I think that's about right. And this, you don't want to get tight at all. You want it, what I did, I don't know if that's right, but I can kind of push it through. If it's any looser, it can go really easily. To where I could just push it. I don't know if that's right again. That's what I did. So I'll get this thing set up and get ready to do some tacks. Alright, so after successfully bonking myself on the head with that thing that I had set up to try to keep mosquitoes out, I bungee corded it so that doesn't happen again. That's set up. I got one of these angle things from Harbor Freight. It's like $3 or $4, and it's actually going to be really good for this 90-degree angle right here, because I don't think I could hold that perfectly. As you can see, some of my notches aren't great. It'll work. I'll just probably put a tack here, maybe on the other side, after I go all the way around. Mainly what I want to do first is see how everything turns out once it's all together, and then if I'm satisfied with it, then I'll start welding. So I'll show you guys when I'm done tacking this piece. Bottom frame slash engine holding section, whatever you call it. Oh yeah, a couple more things before I get started. I took the tip off of this gun because you don't need the tip unless you're using gas, and I'm not using gas. And also make sure you always use protection. I've got gloves, and I've got a new welding helmet. It's solar, so the flash of the weld will cause this to darken, and it's adjustable so you can change how dark it gets and when it gets dark. So we'll see how that goes. Alright, so I went ahead and got everything tacked up. I forgot to mention my settings. I got max 2 and wire feet speed of just over 7. The maximum thickness this machine is supposed to be able to weld is 3/8 with flux core, but This is between 3/8 and 1/4, so I upped the wire speed that it's suggested a little bit, just to give it a little bit more filler. But because I've welded that. That's way thicker than 3/16 and definitely thicker than 1/4, so it's no problem. I've got some problem spots, as you can see. Some of these I didn't quite get the exact spacing right for the notches, but I'll have to figure out some way to deal with that later, especially this one. So that's the neck. Next, the first one I did was the base. As you can see, I got that tacked. That's pretty good. And lastly, the second one I did was the seat, and it's not perfect. Again, these are some giant gaps right here. I'll have to figure out something. I might just make this one the back one because it's not structural. That one over there is, though. I ran into a little bit of an issue with the black mill scale. Here you can see some pitting, but again, those aren't super structural, so I'm not too worried about that. I think what I'm going to do now is weld everything up and show you how it turns out. Okay, so I think either what I'll do next is I'll solidify all of these welds, or let me see if I can maybe get the back pieces set, and then we'll go from there. Alright, so as you can see, I've got everything welded up. I decided to go ahead and just weld the individual pieces first, and as you can see, they're really terrible looking welds, but they're welds nonetheless, and they should hold. And this one I spent the most time on because it's the most critical. Still not pretty, but it should work. Next, I think I may try to put the rear supports on, and from what I can tell on the CAD drawing that I drew, to get approximately the right angle for those, I need to take and put the front of this thing, which that end's going to be the front. I solidified it better. You can tell I didn't bother with that side. The front, according to the drawing, should be a few inches in front of the bottom of the base. So we'll get that going and see how it turns out. So I've got the rear supports welded, and the seat in position. It's not welded yet. I'm trying to figure out how to get it straight this way because I'm not sure. The front needs to be in line with the middle of that base somehow, so I'll figure out a way to do that, tack that, and then weld it. Alright, so we're done for today. I got everything welded that I have cut out except for this piece, which is supposed to go here. I'm not sure, maybe I swapped one of these by accident, or maybe I measured wrong, but it obviously doesn't fit. I'm gonna have to cut it later. So the only things I have to do as far as the frame itself is concerned is make these down pieces. So the way I have this built didn't turn out exactly right. I want the angle to be kind of like this, but the way it went didn't exactly work that way. So what I'll probably, well, like I said, I'm gonna have to remeasure. I'm gonna have to measure the piece that goes down this way, as well as the Y piece that goes down. And I may put another cross piece for structure because this is hanging out further than I anticipated. And I'm obviously going to have to change the way this is shaped to be able to accommodate something like this rather than like this, because you don't want that. So yeah, these are the crappiest welds you've probably ever seen, but they are welds. And ignore these massive gaps because that's cosmetic. There's no structure there. So that's probably what I'll do is I'll work on this, get this to fit. I need to machine down the actual piece for the neck that goes into the forks. I need to drill a hole in the first jack shaft so that I can put the torque converter on. But yeah, I guess it's pretty close to mounting the engine.